back to the show. I'm here with Skye Jitani.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, and Christian Taylor.
Hey, Phil.
Hi, who's been traveling all over the place.
I have, and I love it.
Toronto?
Toronto. And that's in Canada.
And that's in Canada. That's in Canada.
And she was smoking crack with the mayor there.
No, but the mayor was apparently smoking crack.
We don't make drug paraphernalia jokes.
It's not paraphernalia, it's the actual drug.
Oh, okay, that's okay then.
But Toronto was cold.
And you were in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, on an anniversary trip. 20 years.
20 years.
And counting.
Woo!
He's still married to me.
Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, dear Christian Taylor.
And Jeremy.
And Jeremy. Happy anniversary to you.
Yay.
Does it take two?
To tango.
To have an anniversary?
Yes.
Okay, I have to do the
Where
theme
were you?
song.
Wait.
I was in Dallas.
Okay.
I was in Dallas, and I flew into Love Field, and you can't fly directly into Love Field because there's crazy rules.
Right.
So I had to fly through Little Rock to get to Dallas from Chicago, and then coming back, I had to fly through Branson.
That's crazy.
But it'll change next year with the expiration of some arcane law
Wow.
involving the construction of the DFW airport. It's all very bizarre. Anyway, what's my point? Oh, I have to do the theme song.
Yes.
I have to do the theme song. We had a request, because we've run out of characters, we had a request from Anthony to do Wicker, the character Wicker from, I even forget which, it's a VeggieTales video. He has only appeared in one video. He's Mr. Lunt's twin brother who was evil.
Oh.
Mr. Lunt's evil twin.
Why is he called Wicker?
Because something to do with there was another character named, because I think Lunt's character's name was Rattan.
Oh.
And so his brother.
That's my uncle's name.
From the first video. You have an uncle named Rattan?
I do, actually.
An aunt named Wicker?
No.
Oh, okay.
Wait a second. Did you write this one?
Right what?
Wicker. The story with Wicker in it.
No, I just made the noise.
Okay.
It's one where I just made the noise.
Got it.
Not the words. But he was Mr. Lunt, except that he couldn't say his R's.
Okay.
So it was Mr. Lunt crossed with Elmer Fudd.
And it sounded like...
Hello! We are going to get you! I am evil! It was a stretch. It was kind of weird. But anyway, Anthony wants him to sing the theme song. So, but I think I have to say hello, because that's much more fun than hey when you can't say your R's or L's. Hello, it's the theme song. What do you know? Hello, it's a theme song. So there's no video unless you're watching it on video. Hello, it's a theme song. So end it here. The Phil Vischer podcast starts what? Oh, hello, it's a podcast. Why am I saying theme song?
I was wondering why you kept going. I thought, well,
I'm
maybe...
insane.
You should start now changing the lyrics every time instead of just the voice.
That's a good thing to do.
We'll talk to Skye and Christian too. We don't have a guest not here for you. I'm very obscure in the VeggieTales canon. Hey, it's a theme podcast. We got up early in Dallas.
Maybe we should start this whole thing over.
No, never start over. Always press on. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here.
Never start over, always press on. Is that a rule I should know about? I missed that.
Never start over.
That's one of my life rules.
Really?
No.
Well, see,
it's not.
His life rule is life is like a moving sidewalk, so you really can't start over.
There is no start.
That's a good point.
Just try.
You got to keep going.
Yeah, right. You just keep going.
It is your life rule, and you didn't even know
if it just pushes you into the lady in front of you with her wheel.
What happens when it says, the sidewalk is now ending? The moving sidewalk is now ending.
That's the voice of the Grim Reaper.
That's all I heard all weekend.
But is that your voice?
No, but it should be.
That's the Grim Reaper.
The moving sidewalk is now ending.
That means you're dead.
Really?
Yeah, you're dying at the end of the moving sidewalk.
Yeah, but I see another moving sidewalk over there. I just have to walk a few feet and get on another one.
That's if
reincarnation.
You believe in reincarnation. Yeah. Oh, look, I'm on this moving sidewalk as a frog.
What if you go back the other way?
What if you walk the other way on the moving sidewalk?
You can't walk on the moving sidewalk of life.
You
Not
can.
the moving sidewalk of life.
You're Alan. Yeah, well.
You can't make yourself.
You can in real life.
It's called plastic surgery.
No, that just gives you the illusion. That's like moonwalking.
Yeah.
You look like you're taking steps, but you're not.
I was just walking on this moving sidewalk in O'Hare.
Yeah, I was just walking on one in Midway.
those beautiful twinkling neon
Yeah.
lights.
That's so
with those
80s.
charms.
that
Oh,
was
I love
1980. I actually was.
Makes me happy.
They should really replace that with fiber optic.
They made one.
LED
There's a new
stuff.
one in Detroit that's even prettier.
There's
Really?
nothing new in Detroit.
Yeah, well, they built a new terminal for Delta, well, for Northwest about 5 years ago, and it's got a gorgeous thing, but it's like all LEDs behind glass and stuff.
Have you been in every airport in America?
Getting there.
I'm getting close too.
Really?
I have my
You are
favorites.
What's your favorite?
The one I frequent that I really is probably my favorite.
Frequent?
I do
Is
frequent.
it in Las Vegas?
No. It's John Wayne Airport in Orange County, California.
That's a nice
Okay.
airport.
It's a very accessible, small, clean.
Small and upscale.
Yeah.
Kind of like Virgin American. That's my favorite airline.
But that's not an airport.
No,
Have
but
you
isn't-
seen
but-
Virgin America has this new video, their safety instruction video? Have you seen this thing?
No.
Is it cheeky or sexy?
It's amazing.
Amazing,
No, it's like a music
amazingly what?
production number that
Oh,
they did
really?
on a soundstage.
That's awesome.
It is amazing. You should really pause the tape
Wow.
and
Yeah,
go play
Virgin
that.
American.
That Richard Branson, he's a knucklehead.
He knows how to spend
You know
money.
what he said once? He said, somebody asked him, "How do you become a millionaire?"
He's a billionaire.
I know, but somebody asked him, "How do you
okay.
become a millionaire?" And he said, "First, be a billionaire, and then start an airline." There's some advice.
Okay, I have a topic.
What are we talking about
And you
today?
guys don't even know what it is.
I have no
So
idea.
Did you think this up on the plane?
It's going to be a surprise. No, I thought this up last week.
And you've been holding
You
it.
left us out with your thoughts?
I was going to bring it up last week, but we ran out of time. Like, oh, that was going to be fun. So I'll start with it this week.
Great.
So we don't run out of
I
time.
can't wait to hear
because
this.
it's profound. I had a profound.
It was like an aha moment.
It was like it all makes
Don't oversell
sense.
it, Phil.
It all makes sense now.
If this is like the moving sidewalk, don't oversell it.
Okay.
And this is, friends, remember, this is with a week of thought.
And not enough
hear it.
sleep.
It's
And jet lag, because the time zones between Dallas and Chicago
Are exactly the same.
Are intense.
Yeah.
Parents, if you're listening with your children, this topic deals with human sexuality.
Not a good start.
Oh, gosh.
Not a good start.
You might want to
Phil, the expert on human sexuality.
listen
we
to
go.
it first without your children and decide if it's age appropriate, okay? You're warned. Okay.
Boy, now talk about building it up. Now we're really in trouble.
The hyper-sexualized female pop star.
Are we back to Hannah
Role
Montana?
model.
Gosh, it's back to...
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
Here we go.
In Western civilization is enabled, exists, is allowed to exist because of Christianity.
What?
Okay.
All right. I'm intrigued.
All right, say it one more time. Say it one more
The
time.
hyper-sexualized female pop star archetype exists because of Christianity. Can I explain?
Please.
Because
Okay.
they don't exist in Islamic countries?
Why do you always jump ahead? You just can't.
He always wants to steal your thunder. That's it.
I figured it out. Oh, we lost our set.
It's falling apart.
Phil built this set and it's falling apart. You can't see this.
I warned you this was going to
just
happen.
leave it on
No,
the
look at
floor.
this.
It's a headphone amp. It's a headphone amp, and it's Velcroed to the other
he
side
tries
of the
to stick
table.
it under here with bubble gum.
You don't want to hear about the hypersexualized.
we can't hear you
pop
any-
star.
When this falls, our cords get all staticky and we
hear
can't
anything.
hear anything.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm
so
okay.
You're thumping on the table.
It was my fault. It was my own fault.
completely your
If
fault.
anyone has better Velcro, could you send it to us? Because my Velcro stinks. I was in the gym.
Okay.
This is how this story starts. I was in the gym because I used to exercise at home, but then we moved to a much smaller house and I don't really have room. So I went and got a gym membership. So now I exercise in the gym. In the gym, they have TV screens.
They do.
Have you seen this before?
Yes.
TV screens?
Absolutely.
Okay. On the TV screens in the gym, they play music videos.
They do.
So I exercise. That's what it sounds like when I exercise. Like kind of a little wombat working out. In the gym, I'm watching music videos, and I noticed something. To be a girl singer in America, you have to be really, really pretty now. You kind of, you need to be like supermodel.
Susan Boyle would never make it here.
Not on music videos.
No.
And typically that means you need to be sexy too. You can't just be, kind
Sure.
of cute girl next door. Everybody wants to be sexy. But I'm noticing there's differences in like how sexy and what kind of sexy. So I watch one music video and like, okay, she's trying to be sexy. I get it. Guys like that. She'll sell some records. And then the newest Beyonce music video comes on. And it's like, and I'm just kind of going,
You can't hear that, Phil.
my jaw is hanging open. You need to watch the video, because on the video you can see what I'm doing. My jaw's hanging open. See, now you can hear it.
His Beyonce hit the floor.
She actually did. Yeah.
Yes.
She hit the floor.
Did her clothes stay on?
Some of them stayed on, but it was like she was an animal, like a wild beast of sexual energy, completely out of control. And you know what thought came to my mind?
You sound like the kid from the Christmas Story when his dad gets the lamp.
Really, that's what he says?
Yeah,
you're a wild beast of sexuality, out of control. He says that to his dad.
A vision of electric sex in the front window with that.
Oh, right.
That
The voice of the narrator,
right.
not the actual
Not the kid. No,
yeah,
the
because that would
narrator.
be inappropriate, I think.
Probably.
But
Anyway, what comes to mind, I forget if it's Isaiah or Jeremiah who uses this phrase in describing Israel. When Israel is chasing after other gods, the promiscuity of Israel.
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah says, you are... Israel, you are a she-camel in heat, running from one lover to another. You are a she-camel in heat.
Are you calling Beyonce a she-camel in heat?
I had the same thought.
Is that what you're doing here?
Watching Miley Cyrus swinging naked on a wrecking ball in her new music video.
Was she really naked?
Yeah.
Well, she was wearing a wrecking ball.
A wrecking ball was wearing her.
Another way to put it.
Because it was
tomato.
3 times her size. And I'm looking and it's like, you are acting like a she-camel in heat. Like you are just...
Why are you shaking your head?
I just have this image of replacing that wrecking ball with Bob the Tomato.
Skye, where's your brain today?
Like, why not? It'd be great for promotional purposes.
Tomato.
Okay.
That came to my head.
Okay. Women acting like that publicly is a fairly recent development.
Well,
And the issue
there is
is
an ancient parallel.
I don't know. In the harem, they used to shake those hips with
women who are
not any clothes on.
Women who are not prostitutes acting like that is a fairly recent development.
So more women are acting like prostitutes, is what you're saying.
Let him finish what he's saying. Just get it out.
It's kind of the cultural acceptability of behaving like you are sexually propositioning your audience. Okay, whether you're Lady Gaga or Madonna or Beyonce or whomever, and here's where it gets interesting because I'm actually, it's occurring to me. Okay, she is trying to incite male interest.
Right.
It's like, I want you to want me.
That's nothing new.
That's nothing new. The question is, why does she feel safe doing that? Because she's acting like she is invulnerable, like I have power over you and you can't do anything about it. And the reality is that the average college football player, even though Beyonce is strong, the average college football player could take Beyonce.
Sure.
And do whatever they want with her. But she knows they won't. Why won't they? Because we live under the rule of law, and the rule of law that was shaped by Christian morality in the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. So here's what I'm getting at. This is my realization.
Let him keep going. Just let him keep going.
You need to get a hobby. You really do.
This is his job, though.
This is
his job.
Good stuff.
Okay, I'm with you, Phil.
This is gold.
I'm on your train. Let's go.
Okay, so as Christianity spread, I mean, if you go back 2,000 years, it was not 3,000 years, 4,000 years. It was not very safe to be female.
Like it is in Muslim countries
now. It also
now.
wasn't safe to be poor or safe to be anything other than a white landowner.
Can you just let him?
Okay.
I don't think there were many white landowners 4,000 years ago, Skye, but you can run.
Okay, keep going. Please stay on track.
Okay, which is why women generally had to stay around either in a tribe or with an alpha male of some kind, and the biggest, strongest guy had the most wives. If you go back 4,000 years, the biggest, strongest guy had the most wives because he could offer
and he
them.
hit them over the head with a club and drag them by their hair.
4,000
So he
years.
could hurt them, but he protected them against everyone else.
Yeah, and there was a realm, a measure of safety for a woman in being part. So when Paul says, and this is probably too theological, but when he says, respect women as the weaker member, he's not saying you're less than. He's not saying you're not worth as much. He's saying primarily you're physically not as strong, and men need to actually respect that and protect that. So that notion, that seems so anachronistic today.
Anachronistic? I don't know that word.
Because so odd.
What does that mean?
So out of
our time.
Yeah, out of order today. We say weaker member. We're just as strong as you are, because the rule of law has created safety for women. To go drive yourself somewhere at night.
Right.
In most places, you're safe. You're not going to get captured by bandits and carried away and ravished, or pirates. So that's what pirates did. So as Christianity spread, morality changed in the West, and you trained boys to be Christian gentlemen. You respect women. You do not attack women. You do not capture women and carry them off to your lair. You put and then it kind of climaxed in the Victorian era of you put women on a pedestal. Whoa! You paint pictures of the glories of women.
I want to go back to them.
So women were taught, although it was pretty easy because they were already doing it, to behave like a Christian lady. Be modest. Don't proposition men. Don't, walk in dark alleys at night. Behave like a Christian woman. And men were taught, behave like a Christian gentleman. Be respectful of women. Open doors for women. Be kind to women. Do not do that to women. Do not even think about women that way. That developed in the 18th and 19th centuries. And then what happened in the 20th century is that morality had come into law. So it was now, prostitution was legal until not very long ago. But that Victorian morality changed our laws. So now prostitution, that's bad for women. We're going to make that illegal. You can't do that. It's now a back alley thing. It's still done, but it's a back alley thing. And you can't just touch a woman in a way she doesn't want. You can't proposition a woman in a way she doesn't want. All of these things which really came out of this is how a Christian gentleman behaves became part of our legal system instead. And now you can go to jail for touching a woman, inappropriately in a bar, which 200 years ago,
you could probably go to jail now for saying stuff like that on the internet in a harassing type way.
Possibly so. So what's happened? Skye is dying.
I know.
I'm not disagreeing with you. But I think you're oversimplifying.
But just let him finish.
Right, but you can tell me that when I'm done.
I will tell you.
Okay, thank you.
It's just that you're taking a really long time.
It's my show.
That's true. It is.
He can unplug my mic anytime.
But you know what? You really don't have a show without us.
I know.
Actually, he does.
I know he does.
He's done
it before.
This is not as good a show because no one tells me when I'm being silly.
Okay.
Or laughs at my jokes. So what's happened is that as this sense of safety developed in the West for women, then it became isn't this Victorian morality kind of oppressive for us, But I want to wear different clothes. I don't want to have to act so demure. I don't want to do that. I want to wear a swimsuit. I want to go swimming. I don't. And so we thought, okay, let's do more empowering of women, which started out with things like the vote. You have the right to vote. You have the right to own land.
Please say you're still in favor of that.
Oh, I've never been. Yeah, that's fine. But led to, I want to be free to express my femininity, and led to, I want to be free to display more of my sexuality, which is really, what the 1960s brought. And suddenly now, but here's the thing. So now you go from there all the way to Beyonce saying, I'm not only going to express my sexuality, I'm going to throw it all over everywhere. I'm a she-camel in heat. I'm just going to throw my sexuality all over and everywhere. But you men, I'm safe to do this because you're going to behave like Christian gentlemen. So So men are still expected, because we've forgotten that that's not the way men are actually wired, that it was a product of Christian culture in the West. And the way you know that that's true is when you look at what happens to women when they're out walking by themselves in India, or they're out walking or they wear Western clothes in Saudi Arabia, or there's a rape trial, in the Middle East, and the woman gets charged with the crime, not the man, because of how she was dressed, because it was her fault, because men can't control themselves. So we have an interesting dichotomy now where in the Middle East and in parts of the East, the notion is men can't control themselves, so women must be completely restrained. And in the West, we have no, men should be completely in control of themselves, which is Christian teaching, so women don't have to be restrained at all.
Boy, that's all messed up.
I was in Noodles and Company. Have you ever been to Noodles and Company?
Of course.
Ding.
I went. My iPad
Ding.
went to sleep. It's coming. Calm
okay.
down. You talk so long.
I went to Noodles and Company in Wheaton, and with my mother. You know my mother.
She was dressed
She's been on the show. My mother was dressed appropriately, and we saw something we've never seen before in Wheaton, and my mother was kind of stunned.
A she-camel in heat?
A family walked in, and the mother in the family was in a full burqa, full on, only eyes exposed.
Okay.
At Noodles and Company in Wheaton.
How does she eat?
I don't know how she ate. She ate noodles. I think she sucked them through the eye hole. I don't know. I couldn't tell how she ate.
Did they sit down and eat in the restaurant?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
So the kids could dress completely Western.
Right.
Husband dressed completely Western. Mom has to wear...
Was it Halloween?
A grocery... No, it was not Halloween.
Okay. You could have been mistaking the costume.
Mom is wearing a garbage bag, basically. And I was actually kind of angry with the guy, but I also understand that that's the flip side of Beyonce. It's a different response to the same issue of this is how powerful female sexuality is to men. That in the East, we have to completely restrain it or men will go crazy.
He's really dying.
No, but it makes me think of there's a cartoon I posted on Facebook probably last year at some point. It was a political cartoon, just a single panel, and it showed a woman in a burqa and another woman in a skimpy little bikini, and a thought bubble over each of them. And the woman in the bikini is looking at the woman in the burqa and thinking how sad and oppressive for her. And the woman in the burqa is looking at the woman in the bikini, and it says how sad and oppressive for her. Because, it's all on your point of view, because which is more exploitive of women?
Well, you can't even tell who she was. You need a name tag.
Well, I understand, but a lot of it is point of view. So may I respond yet?
I'm almost done.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because you know what? You haven't wrapped it up by saying why Christianity. That's how you started.
So in the East, or the Middle East in particular, the solution to the problem of the power of female sexuality is that women must be completely restrained.
Right.
You cannot leave the house without a male relative. Rules like that, that's where they come from. In the West, we see the exact same thing, the power of female sexuality, and we say, hey, I bet we can make money off that. Mm-hmm. I bet we can sell cars with that. I bet we can sell records with that. So, and then we look down at them. We look down at them for their solution. My point is, and this is where all this started, the only reason you can behave like that. Okay, here's another example.
I feel like I'm the studio audience.
You are.
I mean, why are we really here?
At this moment, we are.
You didn't bring any stories.
I sent you some this week.
Yeah, they weren't that good.
I know.
The only reason, every year in Central Park, a bunch of women stage a protest every year, and they parade through Central Park topless.
Oh.
Do you know what they're protesting?
Bras.
No.
Tops.
They're protesting that women aren't allowed in most of America to walk around topless.
And we would want to do that?
Yes, because we're being repressed. We're being oppressed if we're not allowed to dress how we want. That's how far we've
oppressing.
We've come. You're repressing my breasting.
Yeah,
something.
Pressed.
And
There's
it's just,
a rhyme there.
And it just
There's a song coming.
Stuns me because if you say, wait a minute, if you said to my grandma, women are protesting because they can't walk around topless, in public. The irony is in New York City, it's not illegal for a woman to be topless.
Really?
So technically in New York, they can. But that's why they can do it and not get arrested. But they're protesting the general societal norm that says women have to cover their chests.
Well, yeah, because men don't have to.
Exactly.
Some should.
Exactly. And you know why? Because the sight of a male chest doesn't drive most women to attack
doesn't do much for
the
me either.
male. But if you say that, that's not politically correct to say anymore because the idea is, well, men should not. They should not. And where did that come from? That came from the Christian moral standard that men should be Christian, self-controlled Christian gentlemen. And women should be self-controlled, respectful Christian women, except we threw that side of the equation away in the 60s.
Right.
But we're still holding on to the male side of the equation.
That is interesting.
Which brings me to a story that we both read from Business Week, and I won't mention the website because I don't want people to go there. But it's a frat boy website that's become very popular, and it's very popular primarily. Most of their content is sexy pictures of girls that they take of themselves and send into the website. And then they post them, and then all these guys say, wow, you're hot. And it makes girls feel good.
And this is the website?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really the whole
There's
website.
some other components to it, but they're making lots of money.
But they're making lots of money. It's going really well.
Who's paying them money?
So advertisers, and then they sell merchandise.
Right.
So Business Week talked to one of the girls that sends in pictures of herself and said, so why do you do this? And she said, because I like the compliments. Because it makes me feel good that, these guys think I'm hot, which shows the culture of what we've done with girls in America. But what I think is more interesting is that they have gatherings now, they have little bar meetings at bars for, the local chapter of this website, and guys that are in that area all go and show up, and if there are any girls that want to come, they get all excited because it's girls. And they said, well, you feel safe in that context? And she said, well, actually, at one of them, I had this guy following me around touching my butt, and I kept telling him to stop it, and he said, why? I've seen your pictures. But he's a jerk. And she said, and her conclusion was...
But the problem was with him.
Yeah, that he's a jerk. But there are jerks everywhere. But what he's revealing is something very fundamental about the dynamic that we have going on, that if you are visually propositioning a man, he's going to assume that you're propositioning him.
Yeah.
And he innately wants to respond in kind, which is exactly what happens, which just happened in Kenya. There's a case in Kenya of a 16-year-old girl attacked by a group of guys, gang raped on her way home from school. She now can't walk. She was abused that badly. But the values are so different for how you treat girls in that culture, specifically in this location, that there are rules against it. So the guys were arrested, brought to the police station. Their punishment was they had to mow the lawn in front of the police station, and then they were let go. And so now there are Western protests. And this was a story on NPR, one of the commentators said, here's the problem we have. These rules to protect women are on the books in these countries, but only because they've been pressured to put them on the books by Western countries. They don't actually believe in them, so they don't enforce them. There's no Christian moral heritage there that says you put women on a pedestal and you protect them. So if you go out and in any way appear that you're interested in sexual contact, you're going to get it, whether you want it or not. And that doesn't happen in the West because of the heritage of Christianity and because of men being taught to behave like Christian gentlemen, even though we don't use those words anymore. So Christianity has made it possible to safely be a hypersexualized pop star.
A she-male in heat.
Thank you.
A she-camel. I didn't mean she-male.
Thank you. We're all out of time. We'll get to your comments, Skye, next week.
Phil will now be accepting honorary degrees from various feminist colleges and women's programs.
I figured it out. I figured it all out.
It's amazing.
It is.
And I'm curious to know how long that took you to piece that all together.
At least a week.
I think I was doing some leg squats. And
Well, this was all in the gym during the Beyonce.
Was it like a revelation that happened in a split second?
The core of it happened while watching the Beyonce video.
Okay.
But then I kept thinking about it.
And did you put this on paper at all?
No,
this is all just up there.
Couldn't you tell he was writing it as he was talking?
Yeah, he's a verbal processor.
Isn't it something?
Okay.
Amazing.
Okay, Skye.
All right, Skye, you were busting
Am
at
I-
the sign.
No,
think I'm
it's just
overgeneralizing?
No, there's various pieces I wanted to jump in and
And now you've forgotten them.
No, but I think
Should I repeat it so
think-
that you can jump in?
I think that your general argument that Western culture predicated on individual liberty and rights has created a milieu in which women are protected and respected, which then
Extra credit for using the word milieu.
Thank you.
I know what that means.
And that a lot of that
Did you
is-
attend the Milieu Man March?
And a lot of that is predicated on a Judeo-Christian understanding of law and liberty and all that. So that's true. Where I think you got to add some other pieces into the puzzle.
But I'm not talking about it's not a liberty issue. It's a liberty for women in sexual expression combined with restraint for men in sexual response.
Okay.
And I think it's a double standard issue.
Yes, and that's why I've complained in the past about the messages we're sending to boys that sex means nothing, but if she was half asleep or a little intoxicated, you're going to jail because sex means everything.
Right. Well, I think the difference is, no doubt there are certainly some women out there who are, she-camels in heat.
I didn't
right?
say they are.
Well,
but just
they behave that
they're
way,
making
right?
money by behaving that
But
way.
I think a lot of it is actually driven by men.
And it's a great term, don't you think?
It's a great term. So, here's one of the things we neglect. People are always lamenting, why are we becoming so much more sexualized and why are things so much more graphic than they used to be? And a lot of it is technology. And by that, I don't mean internet. What I mean is, this thing keeps breaking.
I know.
It keeps falling.
I'm sorry.
How can we have a show
I'll
when
fix
this
it
keeps
next time.
ending up in our lap?
We've only had moving images, right, film and television, for less than a century. But for the first time in human history, there's
More than a century, but not much.
but not much.
Yeah.
So prior to that, explicit sexual material was either drawn or carved or...
I love the old engravings.
That's right.
And the stuff carved
I like
on
to paint it on the cave walls.
on whale
paint on cable.
tusks.
But for the most part, people encountered sexually explicit things in person, right?
Right.
You go to a brothel.
or when they went to
prostitution.
Egypt on the tombs.
But there was no lasting record of those materials. But once you have television and particularly film, and now explosively with the internet, we have an archive of essentially pornographic material in our society. And over time, you get desensitized. And so you need something more graphic and more explicit. So the reason why you have Miley Cyrus today is because 20, 30 years ago you had Madonna. And we can still see those Madonna videos and be exposed to them. So it isn't enough to match what was done in the past. We have to surpass it.
Right.
We have to be more extreme. And so I think it is the modern technology of communication that is fueling ever more explicit and graphic and quantities of this material, which is why you have a Miley. It isn't merely that we're willing to tolerate more and more stuff because we're good, ethical, virtuous Christian men with some heritage.
Would you say we're in a Miley milieu?
Something like that. But it's a snowball. We have a technology form now that requires ever increasing more and more explicit material that didn't exist for the last 20,000 years.
But I feel like you're missing my point.
I do too. Because actually, he said he genuinely.
My point is not as much about the change in behavior among women, but the fact that it has been safe for women to behave that way.
I don't think it's necessarily safe because we want to protect women. I think it's safe because we're making money from them.
So there
is an economic interest in making sure this is protected.
You're saying that guys on the street do not jump on and attack women because they're afraid of the loss of record sales?
No. I'm saying the people who are creating those materials and creating those pop stars are making lots and lots of money at it. And
but they're not controlling male behavior.
But it's in their interest to reinforce a society in which there are boundaries. I mean, one of the reasons why Miley Cyrus and Beyonce doesn't have to worry about being attacked is because most people are encountering that image through a screen. Yeah, she's not dancing in the health club.
Right.
You know, there are women who are assaulted all the time in brothels and prostitution rings and strip clubs.
Well, even on the
it's
street.
Inherently dangerous for women to be in those scenarios because they are attacked.
Yeah,
which is why it's illegal. But the reason why it's not illegal on a screen is because there's a medium by which those women can be protected.
It's not illegal because they're attacked. It's illegal because we found it morally wrong.
No, it's one of the reasons it's illegal is to protect women.
But some people are arguing that legalizing prostitution would actually protect women more because then it's regulated and it's safe.
And that's why in some
similar
states
to the abortion argument.
But that's right. But the reason, for the most part, the reason why it's still illegal in the country,
take that to the bank.
It's not illegal because people think it's immoral. It's illegal because it's seen as abusive and dangerous for women.
Which is immoral.
But that's not why it became illegal. It became illegal out of Victorian morality. It was Victorian England.
I kind of gotta go with him.
But my point is there's an incentive, there's an economic incentive to keep sexually explicit material and women exploit themselves in the culture.
I mean, you're both right.
So I don't think it's merely that we have a more virtuous society because of Christian heritage. I think we have a society that's driven by economics, and there's a lot of money generated by sexually explicit material.
So you're saying that somehow we are making sure that men restrain themselves from attacking women so that we can make more money off women?
Yeah, to a degree. I think.
How exactly would we do that?
This is going to be fun.
Because I'm not seeing how that could be possible.
Well, it's sort of like alcohol. We all know.
Yes.
We all know alcohol can lead to very bad things.
Yes.
Drunk driving, abuse, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Why don't we outlaw alcohol completely?
Because we tried it and it was a disaster.
And it was a disaster.
Yeah.
Right. So what we've decided as a society is we want this substance to be legal.
Yeah.
But regulated because there's a huge economic interest in making sure that these things are still sold and not illegal.
That's not true.
It was more about crime.
It was more about crime.
Well, economics.
But
you know what? Look,
it was very.
He wrote this
here's
book
the point. It was
called Divine Commodity, and it's all about how we commoditize everything, and everything's all. That's just kind of where his brain is. He has to weigh in that way.
I would make the argument.
Totally
we need to love him the way he is.
I know we do.
I would make the argument it was not about crime.
I agree with you.
Prohibition was overturned not because of crime. It was overturned because fighting that crime was too expensive. The federal government, and the same thing is happening with marijuana right now. Why are we legalizing marijuana? Because it's costing.
So many people are potheads.
Because it's costing the states an enormous amount of money to try to fight drugs.
Right.
Well,
There's that.
It's economics that tips it. So rather than
don't you see how we are clinging to the notion of men acting with restraint?
Yes, absolutely, and that's why I agree with you. I think women are protected, including.
And my question is, what happens? Because if you look at date rape on college campuses, I think what you see is that vestigial morality from Victorian Christianity slowly breaking down over generations, with more guys saying she wanted it. She look how she was dressed. Mm-hmm. And we say, how could you even think that? That's not our heritage. That's not. As we have more and more generations of boys who grow up, in a pornographic society, I don't know how long.
I agree.
How long the memory of Christian virtue can sustain us without
what
real
gets
revival.
Me
need revival, kids. We need revival so that Beyonce doesn't have to put her clothes back on.
No, show that she does.
But
you know what? Here's where I think the tragedy is, and I think
Beyonce naked. Go to church.
Skye said that. I did not say that.
Well, it's just the logical extension of your argument, Phil.
It is, but I wasn't going to go there because I'm smart. Okay, What were you saying?
Oh, really? I get to talk now? I'm so excited.
See, I'm putting you on a pedestal.
Thank you. I deserve to be there.
A fine example of a Christian woman.
Thank you. Which I'm not. But anyway. The tragedy is that I think, women have been on this campaign to be free. To be free, to do, to say, to work, to wear, whatever we want.
Or not wear.
Whatever we want. And yet, we expect men to be responsible and chaste and protective and give us all the freedom that we want and let us rise to whatever positions we want and it's like we're walking all over them and yet expecting them to be our hero at the same time. It's totally and completely confusing, and I think it messes up the minds of young American boys.
And girls.
and girls. That's true.
I agree.
So,
Which means everyone, pretty much.
You know what this
We're all-
means?
except our pets. Our pets are probably still thinking clearly about sexuality,
Probably.
which my dog is not allowed to participate in
Mine
for
either.
medical, surgical reasons. So
that, I think, is a tragedy.
a
And
lot
I don't
of
know
this-
how you
there's
fix it.
a lo-
I just feel mostly bad for boys.
Oh, thanks, Christian.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's awfully sweet of you.
She has all sons.
But a lot of this, though, is in the conflict. You know, when people try to paint the conflict between, the Christian West and the Muslim, Middle East or the Muslim world as a religious conflict, so much of it is a morality conflict of, look at your morality. It's despicable. If your morals come over here, we can't be good Muslims. If our women start acting like your women, it's the end of us all. And you kind of have to say, you've got a good point. But it's so this conflict of the restraint that men have practiced historically in Christian society that has allowed post-1960s and women's liberation women to live without restraint, to extremes in some cases, is exactly what the Middle East is responding to. In last week, you know what last week was in Iran? It was
Burn America.
It was
Week.
annual Death to America
Death
Day.
to America
That's
Week.
a national holiday in Iran, and it was last week.
And how is it celebrated?
By burning flags.
A lot of effigies.
Pinatas
A whole lot of, like the giant balloons of Snoopy?
Yeah.
Why do they hate us so much
Set it on
again?
fire.
Just because.
Beyonce.
We're the great Satan.
Beyonce. I'm sorry.
I mean, there's
I'm
a
sorry.
point. They have a point. Not that
I know.
not that I'm anti-American, but there are very
Maybe a
traditional
little
values in
bit.
those cultures, and they look at the West, they look at what we export
I
to
know.
our culture and media and Hollywood and all that, and they go, we don't want this. It destroys families. It destroys cultures.
Right.
It destroys marriages.
Okay.
And
So what do you guys think? Have I come up with a strikingly new point of view on the conflicts of the world? We have one more thing we're going to talk about today.
Do we have any time left?
what time?
Yeah,
is
we
it?
do. Yeah, we do. We have a little bit of time left.
I have somewhere to be tonight.
Well, I just have one thing. I have one thing to say. There was a really great comment on your Facebook page,
There was.
and it was directed at Skye.
From my friend Charlie.
Oh.
Charlie wrote and said, I'm a very big fan of the podcast.
I just want to say,
And what's in the Bible?
Charles is my middle name.
That
glad
is
we know
not
that now.
going to get you out of anything. I was a little confused by Skye's comments regarding the gospel proclamations in Acts. If I understood him correctly, he seemed to be insinuating that hell and sin are not important components of a gospel proclamation because they were not in the proclamations he cited in Acts. I would have to strongly disagree with this statement, and then he lists some of Jesus' teachings where Jesus talks about hell and sin and such. Skye,
So,
what do you have to say about that?
Yeah.
I actually think he's correct. Of course, Jesus said those things.
That you were wrong?
No.
Oh.
No. I think what this comes down to is a confusion of terms.
Semantics.
Semantics to a degree.
Milieu?
The question is, what do you mean by the word gospel?
Yeah.
So here's the problem. Throughout Christian history, invariably over time, bad teaching enters the church. False teaching, heretical teaching even. And then somebody comes along like a Calvin or a Luther or you name your reformer, and they say, hey, that's a bad teaching.
Right.
And here's what the Bible actually says about this issue. And that's good. They bring correction. What we tend to do is take the correction that they bring to a truly false teaching, and we call that correction the gospel, because it lends strength and credibility and authority to the correction.
Give me an example. of what you mean.
Well, this get me in trouble because then you're poking at particular things. I don't want to get into specifics, but here's the point.
Okay, well, can you give me an example of what you're talking about?
Well, here, let's just talk about the example we're on
Just
right
say
now.
a friend of mine. Can you
Friend
just
of
say
mine.
that?
No, here's a good example. I mean, the one that Charlie brought up is a good one. You know, he believes that you have to include the idea of hell in a gospel presentation. Okay? Part of that's because there's a heresy of universalism, which says everyone is saved, everyone goes to heaven, and we need to correct that and make sure that that's not adhered to. So you bring in this correction, say, no, actually there is a hell, and that's part of the gospel. Because we want to take these various pieces that are true and biblical and right, but we want to always call them part of the gospel. And my point is, and I can cite some other scholars that would affirm this, that we've gotten very sloppy about what we identify with the word gospel. So just because something is true and biblical, and just because Jesus said it or Paul said it or it's in Romans or it's in, doesn't mean it's part of the gospel. So we have to define the term gospel, and then...
But can't you also say, because if you go to Matthew's gospel, it says this is the gospel according to Matthew.
Yes, so
isn't the entire story of Jesus the gospel?
Yes, let's go back though. Let's define the word.
Okay.
So the word gospel comes from the Greek word euangelion.
Ooh, I like how you say that.
Euangelion.
Euangelion.
So it's actually a conjunction of two words. Which
Evangelion or euangelion?
Euangelion. EU.
Okay.
EU is a prefix which means good, like eureka is EU, right? It means good. And angelion is the word for message. It's the same root where we get angel from, which means messenger, right? So
herald.
Right.
Right.
Good message or good messenger. So the gospel, euangelion, means good news. The word gospel predates Christianity. It was used extensively in the Roman Empire, and it was a proclamation of good tidings and great joy that was declared when there was a new king inaugurated or a new king coronated or a new king born. Right. So the proclamation in Rome was, for example, Caesar is Lord. Caesar is king. That was good news. It was the gospel. So when the New Testament comes along and the Christian message comes along, Paul and Jesus and others call it the gospel. The real good news is something else. So
they're just picking up on an old theme.
They're taking an old Roman idea and reforming it to say, no, the real good news is not that Caesar is king. The real good news is that Jesus Christ is Lord. So then the one place in Scripture in the New Testament where Paul explicitly defines his gospel is 1 Corinthians 15. And what he talks about in that chapter are many things, but at its core, he talks about that Jesus is the Messiah of Israel, that he lived, that he died, that he rose again, and that he ascended to the Father and is Lord over all. He's the Lord over all things. And that is the gospel. And when you go, and as Phil just said...
Or could you say that is Paul's gospel?
Well, it is the gospel that Paul preached.
Thanks.
So one of the interesting diagnostic questions that people ask sometimes is, did Jesus preach the gospel?
Right.
And there are some people who say no, because for them, they think the gospel is that Jesus died for my sins so that I won't go to hell. But if Jesus hadn't died yet, how could he preach the gospel? Right?
Well, but you could also argue that he just was the gospel.
Well, that's what we're finally getting down to is, Mark chapter 1, for example, says that Jesus came preaching the gospel.
Right.
Well, what did he preach?
He said the kingdom of God is here.
The kingdom is here, and it centers on him.
Right.
Because he's the king. And then
the kingdom is here, and it's me.
Right. And then to Phil's point...
Good news, everyone. I'm here. I also announce myself that way when I come to parties.
To Phil's point, the first 4 books in the New Testament are called the Gospel according to Matthew, the Gospel according to Mark, the Gospel according to Luke, and the Gospel according to John. What are those 4 books about? They're about the incarnation, life, death, resurrection, and ascension of Jesus, and the proclamation that he is the Messiah of Israel and the rightful king of the world. That's the good news. Now, if that's the good news, that doesn't include a message about hell. The question then is, what are the implications of that good news? One really clear place where this is displayed is in Acts chapter 2 at Pentecost, where Peter preaches the gospel, and he basically preaches Jesus Christ as Lord. And then the crowd responds, what should we do? And he says, repent and be baptized for the forgiveness of your sins.
Right.
Repentance is critical. Forgiveness of sins is critical. Yes, I believe it saves you from separation and hell from God, and it does mean eternity with him. But those are all responses to or implications of
the gospel.
The gospel. So it comes down to terms. So the most succinct telling of the gospel you can make is Jesus Christ is Lord, in which every word has a great deal of meaning behind it. So Jesus, this historical man, Christ, meaning the Messiah of Israel, right? That the Old Testament fulfillment in him is present tense, meaning he's alive now, the resurrection. Lord, he's king, he's ascended and enthroned above all things. In light of that, if Jesus Christ is really Lord, what is my response? I should turn away from whatever my false Lord is to the real Lord, and that means repenting of my sin, being reconciled to him, understanding he's forgiven my sins so that I might be reunited with God, and live a sanctified life in discipleship to him to make him his lordship manifest over my life. But that's what we come down to, is that we take all the other stuff and we say this is all gospel.
Right.
And I'm saying, no, it's the outworking of it. It's a response to the gospel. So I don't disagree with Charlie. I just think we've got to be more precise about our terms.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
We did it! We solved the gospel and Western civilization. And now we're out of time. What should I sing about? What do you think we should sing
Let's
about?
see. Is some sort of revelation or eureka moment or evangelion. You got to work that one in there. Work that one in there. Good luck with that.
Oh, boy. Skye says, Evangelion. At Jellyfish Labs, we say jelly on, because we'll all hopefully end up in the same place with some biblical truth to chew on. That kind of rhymed with Galleon. Beyonce might act like a she-camel. Well, at least they're both mammals, but I don't think that's how women should behave, at least if they want men to control themselves. Goodbye.
You were doing great.
I know, that was fun, but then I think I was done. Okay, we'll see you next time, everybody.
Bye,
Goodbye.
everybody.
See you guys.